All right, folks, good morning and welcome to the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show here on AM 830 WCRN. I am Joe Mangiacotti. I'm in studio. My pal Teddy is right here in studio with me. Of course, Cam flying the board. Good morning, Cam.
Morning.
How you doing, sir?
Doing good. How about you?
I'm good. Big plans for the rest of the weekend, or is this it? Is this tell me I'm the highlight of your weekend, Cam.
Of my weekend?
This show.
What was that? I'll say that again.
show?
I'm sorry. My headphones weren't plugged in.
Is this the highlight of your weekend?
Oh, absolutely.
Good answer. Good answer. Seriously, no, you doing anything? Going out? You're in? What's it going to be today? Cold? What?
Today I'm staying in.
Is it cold? Going to be cold today?
Yeah.
I didn't even look at the weather.
Yeah.
All right. No problem. All right, so very easy to join the conversation. You can do that by just calling in. 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000. That will get into the Clinton Savings Bank studios for two-way talk and conversation from my palatial but not overly ostentatious studios here in Westboro. We also have our text line. You can text the show in real time. That's right, 617-297-8388. So if you text me, just like you would text a friend, anything, anywhere, you just text it to that number. Why don't you program it into the phone and just, put it under Joe's show or WCRN. I don't care how you label it, but 617-297-8388. And if you can't text but you have a device, you can also email textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. We did that, so it'd be easy to remember. You can have no problem, right? Textjoeontheradio@gmail.com. It appears on the same screen, so I can respond in real time. So we think that has worked out pretty good. And on our social media platforms, it is at Joe Mangi Show, M-A-N-G-I, Joe Mangi Show. That's kind of the housekeeping. We do have an office number for the show during the normal business hours during the week, 508-603-9778. That's the office number for the show, 508-603-9778. And we do have an email for the show at joemshow@gmail.com. That's where people try to book shows or send me information. A lot of you use the Text Joe for Text Joe on the radio. That's fine, too, actually. Works just as well. So that's all good. All right, a lot to talk about. Yesterday, I thought was a lot of fun, a great show. Jerry Doherty joined me for the first hour and a half yesterday, and it's always fun to have Jerry around. You can hear him Monday through Friday from 11 to noon on Making Money Last. He has a business right down the street here from the studios. It's called the Boston Independence Group, and he's an expert in your retirement. That's right. If you're close to or have just recently retired and you don't ever want to run out of money, go see Jerry. That's what you have to do there. And then it was great because we talked to Bryant Turner. He's the young man who a year ago, and Cam, do you remember this story? Kid, probably your age, mid-20s, him after work, a 70-hour work week. It's tough. Let's go out, grab something to eat. They go into a restaurant, and he is wearing his mega hat. And he says he wears that everywhere. And this woman decides to give him a lot of hassle about wearing the hat. So she's even telling the bartender, poison that drink. I mean, she's obnoxious, right? And it's the bartender who actually, he calls the police because he has a drunk, rowdy customer harassing another customer. So the police show up, and apparently know her by name. Do you remember this story?
Not specifically, right. But I mean, they all melt together.
They do melt together, don't they? Right? So she well, the point is, the cops say, okay, you need to leave. And to get out, she has to actually pass where this guy is. And she grabs the hat, which she had done several times before the police were there, and tossed the hat. And the bartender kept returning it, tossed the hat, and so forth. Anyway, she does this. She takes the hat and touches him and assaults him in front of the police, and therefore it becomes assault and battery in the presence of a police officer. And they have to arrest her, and they do. But the kicker, Cam, is, guess what? She's an illegal alien. She's not supposed to be here. She is actually here because I think she overstayed the visa, was that situation. So they pardon?
Oh, boy.
Ah, right, and moronic, right? So you'd think that if you know that you're here illegally, that you would behave, at least behave.
Yeah, you might want to keep a low profile,
right? Probably.
Probably.
But you know what? Here, illegally, I think you just behave. and behave in public. Don't be an idiot, right?
Regardless of your legal status in the country, be a decent human being.
Just be a decent human being. So she's now on some kind of ankle monitor, because she's going through the proceedings that you have to go through. Okay, I have to say something. So we're streaming live on Facebook, right? We do this. Somebody, I don't know what's going on here. Is somebody hijacked this? Because I don't know if you can pull it up, Cam, but somebody has done something where everything keeps changing on my face. Googly eyes, helmets. Can somebody override this? Now I look like a wizard or something. Are people allowed to do this? It's on the camera?
Yeah.
All right, so something. All right, thank you, because I'm like, what is that all about? So if you can fix that, I'd appreciate it. Not that I didn't look good in a beard and a wizard cap and a gold medal and googly eyes from time to time, but that was pretty strange. Was it just a slip of the button or something? All right, so let's get the camera set back up, and are we good?
We're good.
All right. I know that seems a little low.
Is it?
Now high. Just move the actual camera instead of the stick. Well, all right. We'll fix it in the break. But anyway, so obviously, this is, if you go to the Joe Mangia Show, it is streaming live on Facebook. So the audio and the pictures there. Not that it's fantastic, but it is just a streaming of the studio. Some people get a kick out of that. Go check out the studio and see what it looks like. And so we're on Facebook Live. And those videos are then loaded on to joemangishow.com, our blog site, with usually notes about what we talked about during the show. So if you ever want to go back and check out anything that was done before or said before, that can happen. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. All right, I need to talk a little bit about, because we didn't really do this yesterday, and even though I was on Jerry's show and I was on Hank's panel, we didn't get a lot into the Ron Globorovich, and I know I'm butchering that, right? But the president commuted Blagojevich. Yeah, that's it, Blagojevich. Blagojevich clemency, okay? He did it to Milken, too, and Carrick as well. So the president pardoned or commuted the sentences of 8 other people this week. Edward DeBartolo, a former owner of the San Francisco 49ers. Remember that guy lost his franchise? I think he had to transfer it to or sell it to the sister or something. So President Trump, he's citing what he said was advice from friends and business associates. So he granted clemency. Kind of who's who of white-collar crimes, from politics and sports and business. And the question becomes, well, first of all, I heard, right, the talking heads, you get them out there and they're saying, it's an abuse of power, he's doing this. But let's get something straight. One of the powers granted to the President of the United States is the ability to pardon people, to commute their sentences, clemency. It's just part of the system. It's so it's not unconstitutional. It's not abuse of power. It's perfectly legal for him to do that. It's okay for him to do that. So stop it. It's just everybody on the left seems to start from the position that the president is wrong to begin with anyway. He's already wrong when they wake up in the morning. I've said this a million times, people. The best real estate deal that Donald J. Trump has ever made is the amount of space that he rents in the left's head. The amount of space in thought time, in gray matter that he occupies in the left are these people who literally wake up every day and their thoughts are, what can I say about Trump today? How can I spin anything he's done as president in any way capacity? How can I make it bad? We can look, and I don't, my idea of a good debate isn't the grade school sandbox style. He did this. Well, Obama did this and Clinton did this. And look, we're not going to get anywhere with tat for tat. This is what this did. This is what this one did. President can do it. Yeah, Barack Obama, he had, what, 1,700? I mean, he had some ridiculous number of pardons. Bill Clinton, 495. And then, do you want to really look at who he pardoned? If that's what you want to do, then you have to change the system, right? But they do. The left wants to change the system when it comes to Trump. They want to curb the commander-in-chief's powers. They want to lessen the executive branch because of who is sitting in there. Think about that for a moment. They want to lessen the executive branch just because who is currently occupying the Oval Office. Let's not forget something, folks. The presidency is not a person. It's not a man. It's not a woman. It's bigger than that. And whoever is president is nothing more than a placeholder. They're nothing more than an institution that needs to be preserved co-equally with the other two branches of the government and held until the next person is lucky enough to occupy that office. So if you chip away at the executive branch because you don't personally like the guy in there, you're not chipping away. You're not hurting him. You're hurting the presidency. You're hurting the executive branch. Keep that in mind. Someday, I mean, I know the way it's looking for the Democrats right now, but someday, in theory, one of your people will hold office. And let's talk about that for a moment. Because I know we've always had a little fun with Bernie Sanders being the socialist, communist, democratic socialist, all the things that are said about him. But it's not funny if you think about we're this close to having a socialist and someone who has championed and cheerleaded the social, or rather the communist system, to be the nominee of a major political party and coming down to possibility of being elected president. Think about that. Let's even stick with socialist. And I brought this up the other day on the panel. Why is Bernie Sanders running as a Democrat? He's certainly not the Democrat that I understood Democrats to be as a kid or growing up, and even today. Even today. I know a lot of people who happen to be Democrat, and they don't like Bernie Sanders' positions. And the Democratic Party themselves don't want Bernie being their nominee. First of all, they know that it's pretty much handing the 2020 election to Donald Trump. Because when you get down to it, folks, yeah, you've got all, the squad and their cheerleaders, and you got the snowflakes, and you got all these people who really did not get a decent education, and we should be looking for getting our money back from some of these colleges, Mom and Dad, because they didn't do a sufficient enough job explaining the horrors of socialism and communism, and that capitalism is responsible for raising millions of people up out of poverty. It's actually giving you a chance. You're not, despite what you tried to told, you're not born into a predetermined path for your life, as you are with communism and even socialism. And we only have to look at recent history. Look at people who've recently held office as president. You think Bill Clinton, if he was born in socialism to a single mom in Arkansas, very poor, in another form of government, another form of society, he could have risen to the office of the presidency? So capitalism has its problems, but it's still the best system on the planet. Bernie Sanders talks about free this and rights and obligations. He talks about doing away with the borders as we know them. The bottom line is, folks, we are a sovereign nation. We have our borders. We have them for a reason. And we have immigration laws, and we even have visa, right? Travel law. We have these laws in place for reasons. Look at what is going on the planet right now with the coronavirus. There's a reason that we want to know who's coming into the country, where you're coming from. Do they not ask you, are you bringing any fruits or vegetables from another land into this country? Try to bring an animal in. See how that goes. But they're there for a reason. They're there for a reason. You've got the left telling us that we should not enforce the laws, that the borders should be open, that they can come here. And in the same breath, they're complaining and accusing foreign entities of interfering in our election process. Except, do you follow me yet? Do you get this? Let them come in, whoever wants to come in, from wherever they want to come in, open the borders, let them give in, no deportation, and give them driver's license and let them vote. Yet, don't let foreign entities interfere with the election. Are you not allowing a foreign entity to interfere with the election if you're allowed to illegally enter the country and cast a vote? That's the height of a foreign entity. That's part of the reason when this country was set up, and every other country has their sovereignty. And the founding fathers were very concerned about a few things. They were very concerned about the king at the time still swaying influence within this new founded United States of America, the colonies, right? So they said, hey, what we need to do is we're going to say that the president needs to have been born here. We don't want the king kind of putting a sleeper in and working his way up to the presidency here, and all the while really being someone working for the king, i.e. a foreign agent. So all of the rules exist for a reason. And look at every other country gets to have their borders and their sovereignty. Why is the United States any different? But getting back to I kind of got on a tangent over there, I guess. So the president commuted Ron's sentence. It was a pretty stiff sentence, 14 years. I don't know if that equals it, because now, according to Gorbachev, when Barack Obama was elected president, he sent someone to go talk to him, some union boss. Sent him to go talk to him about the seat. And if you don't think that, there is a certain amount of horse trading and what they call political log rolling, not sure the origin of that term, happens, then you're naive. You're not getting it. And so Barack sends, because he's not going to go have this conversation in person, that's for sure. He's president-elect at this point. So he's not going to go talk about a political backroom deal in person. So he sends one of the union bosses over to see the governor to ask him what he wants. What does he want? If you, the governor, put who I want in my old seat, what is it that you want? And they talked about ambassadorships and cabinet positions and things of that nature. And even the court went back and said, that is political log rolling. That is par for the course. So I'm wondering now that he's free and that the sentence has been commuted, if there's going to be any follow-up with this. Obviously, Ron Blagojevich has a connection to Trump. He was, during his actual time that he was awaiting the sentencing and all that, he actually appeared on The Apprentice, a Celebrity Apprentice. He was a contender. He didn't last that long, if I remember correctly. But he was on it, so he knows Trump from there, but he says, hey, even Trump said, I knew him from there several years ago. I don't know him really that well. And that he's taking his cue from the advice of people around him. But Trump has also done something with criminal justice overhaul that his predecessors didn't do. And and that, folks, see, that all connects into, honestly, the black vote. Because you have a president who actually has done something with criminal justice reform. And Trump has continually been addressing the excessive sentences given to minorities. And remember, not long ago, at the urging of Kim Kardashian, or I should say Kim Kardashian West, right, that he pardoned Alice Marie Johnson. She was the 63-year-old black American woman. She was serving a life sentence for nonviolent drug conviction. She was she was centerpieced in that TV ad that Trump had during the Super Bowl. And he has actually done something, not just talked about it. And would you think that our first black president would have been the one who did something for criminal justice reform and to address the inequities of sentencing with minorities? Not the billionaire racist white guy? Don't you think that should have worked? But it didn't. So I've said this, folks, that, all that Trump needs to do to really change, not that he doesn't have better than a solid chance of being reelected, but cementing that chance by securing just a few points, just moving the needle slightly on the black voter bloc, will not just secure his reelection, but it will actually change what has been the status quo for decades, with the Democratic Party always presuming that they have the black vote. And when the blacks did come out to vote, they did get it. The converse of this is the numbers say, not me, the numbers say that the black vote is usually low turnout. But if the president has changed that just a few points on the needle, that he moves the vote, the black vote, away from the Democrats, and not necessarily to Republicans, but to people who actually will do something for the black community and not just promise it to them for generations. It's a game changer. It's a game changer going forward, because you have people like Candace Owens out there who, by the way, her prediction right now is like 20-30% of the black vote going to Donald Trump. I don't know if I can agree with that. But we're 29 and a half minutes after the hour here on the Joe Mangiacotti Show from the Clinton Savings Bank studios. We're going to take a quick break here. Handling change, we're going to hear, I think we're going to hear from Wes Oliver. I'm not sure. We'll check in to see what's happening on that. Stick with us here on Joe Mangiacotti. Good morning and welcome to Handling Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. I'm Joe Mangiacotti, and Paul Stankus of the Cantiani Agency joins us this week. Protecting your home, auto, business, and possessions can be challenging. Paul can help you handle those challenges. Good morning, Paul.
Good morning, Joe. Thanks for having me.
Welcome to the show again. 2020, here we are. How are things at Cantiani Agency?
Everything is going great.
Fantastic. Let's jump right into this. I was thinking, because, you watch a lot of commercials out there, right? It's almost become more about the characters in these insurance commercials than the the insurance coverage. And we've heard a lot of terms like bundling, and I think people get the whole concept of that, and we understand that. But there is something out there I hear once in a while, and it's called the umbrella coverage or the umbrella policy. And I'm not sure everybody gets that. Do you think you could explain that for us?
Sure. An umbrella policy is a policy that provides additional liability coverage over and beyond what's on the underlying home or auto policy.
Oh, fantastic. So this is above and beyond your policy that you already have on everything.
It gives you additional protection if someone is trying to come after your assets.
So this would be placed on there because it's a way of upping your coverage, or is there another benefit to it?
The policy itself basically does just give additional liability coverage. Your auto or home policy, per se, will only give you a certain level of coverage. The umbrella policy, something you can purchase to provide additional coverage to make sure that you're covered appropriately based on what you have for assets.
Well, it sounds like it's something you should have, and it's a benefit to have. So let me ask you first, why don't most people have one then?
Well, in the insurance world, most people won't purchase something if they're not fully informed about it. And a lot of people don't know exactly what an umbrella policy can provide for them.
So it's a classic you can't ask for what you don't know exists.
Correct.
And then, of course, if you don't know the benefits and the reasons for it, you wouldn't know to ask for it. Let me ask you this then. The cost involved, is it going to be a substantial increase to your premium if you have an umbrella policy?
Umbrella policies are fairly inexpensive. For the coverage that you're obtaining, the cost is usually pennies on the dollar. Umbrella policies usually start with $1 million liability limits, but we have some carriers that will go up to $10 million umbrella policies.
How many items do you need to have, or how many policies do you need in place that it would actually work, that you can get one of these umbrella policies?
As a standard, most of our companies require that they write your underlying home and auto policy as far as a personal umbrella. We do have a company that does offer umbrella coverage if you just have an auto, but for the most part, they're looking for you to have a home as well as auto. But the umbrella will cover rental properties as well as boats, motorcycles, and any other toys that you might have.
Well, this is all fantastic. It sounds like you get a lot of benefit and protection with an umbrella policy.
The umbrella policy itself is going to provide the additional coverage, but it's also going to provide you representation in the event that you're being sued. Someone's trying to come after all of your assets.
That's a scary situation to be in. So are you suggesting that everybody that has your standard policies, home, even rental, auto, or commercial policy should inquire about this if they've never had this conversation?
I think it's something to definitely consider and ask about. An umbrella policy, like I said, doesn't cost much, and you may not need it, but you may feel more comfortable having it. And also, if you have more than just a home and auto, once you have a few rental properties, in the event you're being sued, someone can come after just about anything. So you want to make sure that you have an umbrella to go over all that and give you the proper protection.
And you mentioned the sue part a couple of times, so I guess that's really one of the huge benefits of an insurance, or rather an umbrella policy, is you just have that much more against litigious society that we're in.
That's correct.
All right, fantastic. So, of course, people can reach you and any of the good folks down at Candiani Insurance any business day. All right, Paul. Well, thank you for stopping in. Fantastic information. And again, anybody can give you guys a call down at the agency anytime, right?
Absolutely.
All right. And thank you for joining us for Handling Change from the Cantiani Insurance Studios. Join us each week at 7:30 as we give you the tools to handle the changes in your life, and visit us at handlingchange.info. You can find Cantiani Insurance online at cantianiagency.com or call 508-791-2088. For Paul, I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back here to the Joe Mangiacotti Show Sunday edition on AM 830 WCRN, and of course our sister affiliate WACE 7 in the Springfield area. I think the license is at Chicopee actually, but it's the Springfield area. It's right out there with Cam. Okay. Also, our text line is up and running, 617-297-8388. 617-297-8388. And that means that you can also email us at textjoeintheradio@gmail.com, and it appears on the same screen. So Bernie Sanders has been declared the winner of the Nevada caucus, and Democrats are preparing to nominate a communist to be the leader of that party. He wants to he's going to destroy America as we know it. And the Democrats are petrified that he's going to destroy the Democratic Party, right? We can't let him take the White House. If Democrats let him take the nomination, Trump does have to stop him. And I think that would be just incredible debate. Bernie Sanders and Donald Trump one-on-one on a stage. Wouldn't you love to see that? It would be extremely interesting. If you support Bernie Sanders, you are not thankful to be an American. You support the destruction of America. So let's be honest about his hatred for the country. He talks about it all the time. Time to defeat communism again. You thought that we've done this enough in the history of this country, but it's now time to defeat it here in our own country. But he's ahead. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the Lieutenant. Lieutenant, good morning. How are you, sir? Ken.
Ken reporting.
All right, Lieutenant, up and early on a Sunday morning. Glad to see it. What's on your mind?
Well, just continuing from your, analyzing what's happening that's happening so fast and recognizing that Bernie's owns the party.
He does.
And as a result, time can't be wasted to address our opposition and separate them from their party.
Did you find it interesting that a socialist, and that's in people, I'm being generous saying socialist and not communist, but I'll give him that. Let's say socialist. Why is he seeking the Democratic nomination? Should he not be seeking the Socialist or the Democratic Socialist nomination? Why hijack the Democratic Party, and why do they let him? They stopped him in 2016. But see, I also have a problem with the DNC, RNC, or any major political party continually changing the goalposts, changing the rules in the middle of the game.
Well, isn't it interesting? There's 37% of Nevada's voting. They don't know how to run caucuses.
No, exactly. And don't think that the president ain't going to have trouble. Have fun with that. He already started.
That party's in shambles.
It is in shambles.
But we have to point it out to a blue state like this and separate them from it. We're in a we're living in a place where we can convince a lot of people, what are you doing? You have to break away. Walk away. That's the slogan now. Walk away.
Maybe the DNC should put one of those signs up on their website, right, under construction. Put the yellow tape or the orange cones out in front of DNC headquarters and says, hey, under renovations, see you in 2024. I mean, just get your house in order. Get your house in order. Figure this out. They should have sent Bernie packing way back when. But no, they let it become a show, and then he's got this support, right, Ken? He's got this. I mean, nobody has anything like Donald Trump does, right? Nobody's getting 30, 40, 50,000 people to show up at rallies like he does all the time, not just in the election time, not in the crunch. It doesn't matter, right? Whenever he had a rally at any time, that's what the numbers were. So it's a class unto its own. But let's talking about just those candidates on the Democratic stage. Bernie Sanders pulls the biggest crowd of any of them. Still nothing compared to Donald Trump, but at least respectable in that way. But they don't want him. They're petrified. They're more petrified what he will do to the party, not the country. They're afraid what he's going to do to the party. So why is he your standard bearer? Why do you let him be your standard? Why are you not telling him go run as a socialist? Why are you trying to hijack the Democratic Party?
Because the people on the left have invited as many radicals as possible. They've never said stop. That's too far.
And they've never spoken out against those that have gone too far. And Pete Buttigieg brought that up to Bernie on the stage. assuming you saw the debate. If you didn't watch it, you saw highlights of it. And he asked him straight out, man, why? Why haven't you stepped up? Because it seems like most of the violence on the left are coming from Bernie bros, Bernie supporters. Remember the Project Veritas? That didn't get a lot of play, but people, you can find it. Go to my show Facebook page, and I've shared it. It's on there. But Project Veritas, they're the people that constantly go undercover into these organizations, right? They expose Planned Parenthood for selling the body parts of the babies and all that. Well, they went in to Bernie's campaign, and they've got, and I'm not talking some fringe volunteer. We're talking a high-placed, paid campaign manager talking about Sanders and what's going to happen, right? And the streets will burn if Bernie doesn't get elected. And also about education. And that's telling. That we've got to send Trump supporters to re-education camps. And that's what free tuition is all about. Because if you're paying for the schooling, Ken, you get to teach whatever you want, and you get to indoctrinate the students however you feel if it's your dime, don't you?
It's the indoctrination is how we got here.
It is.
The three-legged stool: media, academia, progressive politicians.
And what's the other little bit that has just come out in the news that we haven't paid attention to? The amount of money that colleges have been receiving from foreign entities, China especially. Millions. Middle East too. Millions and millions of dollars that they've been hiding that they're getting it. Right? Harvard tried to hide tens of millions of dollars. They didn't want that to be common knowledge.
Well, who do you think funds all the fill-in-the-blank studies programs?
Exactly. Exactly.
And that's how we get here. So that's why, as much as November looks like, Trump's going to win, you cannot sit back. This virus has to be taken care of. And
speaking of virus, Ken,
on their party.
Speaking of virus, how do you feel Corona or COVID-19, more technically, COVID-19 fits into the world stage right now?
Well, it's an example of what a failure communism is. There's a simple explanation to people. Is that what you want?
Well, I'm saying, first of all, the secretiveness and the unwillingness to ask for help and allow, say, America's CDC to help get in there, I think has allowed it to grow and spread where it normally wouldn't have done. It wouldn't have gotten the foothold it got if they were a little more open to letting some help come in. But that aside, it's suspicious to me that, you got to remember now that the timing of this, because we had the Chinese New Year, and businesses know this, right? So they gear up. And I don't know if people realize this, but whether you're Apple or your car manufacturer, because in China, in Taiwan, Hong Kong, Beijing, everybody, they shut down. They shut down for a week to 2 weeks. They just shut down for Chinese New Year, right? The Lunar New Year. It's a huge thing there. So businesses know that. They actually gear up, and they increase production, and they stockpile so that the assembly lines and everything doesn't have a hiccup. Because if you shut down work just for a week on such a grand scale, that would give you a hiccup. So the coronavirus issue hit right at New Year's. So a lot of businesses haven't felt that initially because they're already stockpiled, circuit boards and car parts and all of the things that they knew that weren't going to be made for a week, because they do that every year. They get it. That's part of your business planning. So it coincided with the quarantining for the coronavirus. So even though some of these businesses said that they'll go back up to work, the workers are under quarantine and they can't go to work. So we're going to start to really see that ripple effect. But also, what else was going on? We had a bunch of protests, right, going on in Hong Kong. We had citizens and students in the street. China did not want another Tiananmen Square, did they not? They were using the communist government was actually using the thugs. They were using the Asian mafia to quiet the protesters. That's why they were getting beat in the street, because they didn't want a show of the military force. Do you find any suspicion in the coronavirus being kind of known and escaped and becoming an issue when they needed to actually have everybody off the streets and quiet down?
Yeah, but the new year that you're describing by our calendar, late January, was about 2 months after it really started. So while their reaction at that time may be related to things you discussed, they were hiding it for 2 months.
They were, well, I suspect they were actually hiding it longer than that, because if you go back to the guy, the doctor that died, that first
it started between late November and late December, somewhere in that ballpark. I think what you're describing is how a corrupt system reacts.
Yeah.
As opposed to them specifically targeting a date. And I think there were events in a lab that they screwed up.
Oh yeah, and they turned down offers from not just President Trump. President Trump immediately offered CDC in anything that we can do to help, and they didn't. They turned it down and turned it down. They
did the same thing with SARS too.
And they did it with SARS, right? And because they just don't. I don't know if it's a combination of in their culture they don't want to lose face and ask for help, but they also don't want any foreign scientists or anybody coming in to their territory. They just don't want them there. They're just too secretive. Right? Everybody's a spy. When you're that setup, right? Everybody is a spy to them.
Hey, why would you want to let anybody know what's going on with the Uyghurs?
Yeah, with the what?
The Uyghurs.
Oh, Uyghurs.
Yeah, that's the group of people in China, of which they have a lot of different groups, and they literally are harvesting their organs.
Yeah, that's there's I've seen that conspiracy theory out there.
That's happening.
Yeah, I know, but I'm talking about in relation to the coronavirus, that they're this is ability to.
It's China. It's the government with which Xi is a dictator. He made himself such 3-4 years ago, and these are the consequences.
It's crazy. All right, I got some other calls. Ken, anything else you want to touch on?
That's it for the weekend.
Right.
Have a good one.
Thank you. All right, Lieutenant, enjoy the rest of your Sunday. 508-871-7000. Don from Stoughton. I haven't talked to you for a little while there, sir.
Well, aliens brought me back, and then I got a touch of the woohoo flu or whatever the hell it is. I'm just recovering.
Wuhan. Well, I'm glad to hear you.
Woohoo.
Woohoo. Okay.
Yeah. Sounds better.
Woohoo sounds better. Well,
just a quick programming note. The audio delay is not on.
Audio delay is not on. Cam?
That is correct. I hear you directly in the background as I'm talking to you directly.
Our delay isn't on?
The delay is not on.
All right. Cam is looking at the stack right now.
Yeah, I noticed this yesterday, too, when I called in after I eventually woke and I was speaking to Gary.
Okay. All right. Cam will look at that. We should be on a 7 to 8 seconds delay here.
We are now.
Okay. He flipped the switch.
Okay, there we go.
Okay, so now you don't have to censor yourself, Don. We will do it for you.
Understood. Well, I've caught a few radio stations in this. Now, 3 quick points here. You were talking about Barack Obama and how it was President Trump who eventually commuted the sentence of a woman who was sentenced to jail for life, etc.
Well, he also signed the whole. He put into place some of that reform that could have been done under any of the Democratic presidents too, but they didn't. Trump
point being though is Obama did, I guess, pardon or commute the sentences of a number of drug dealers, and I don't know if we've kept track of these drug dealers or not to see how thankful they were that they've been released from jail by Barack Obama, who's an admitted drug user. Now, how he ever got to be president after admitting that he was in the Choon gang And not only that, but in his book, something about his father, he admitted taking cocaine. He can't even have a gun license. He cannot buy a gun, Joe. How could he be president of the United States as an admitted drug dealer, Mr. Obama?
Because the media did not do their job, and he got elected.
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, you know this.
Yeah. You were talking about the borders, open borders.
Yeah.
Democrats want open borders. Joe, when something has no value to you, what do? You just throw it open to the world, don't you?
Yeah.
Yeah. I love the Democrats. Love the Democrats.
And on that note, too, if you can just come into this country without any effort whatsoever, how much do you respect the citizenship here, too? I mean, you know, I know it's a difficult thing, and we become. I'm dealing with this. I don't know if I got married in May, but I married a Taiwanese, so we're dealing. We have to go through this entire process. I have a lot of respect for it. It costs a lot of money. You have to have an attorney. You have to go through the whole process with immigration and interviews, and I get it, and it gives you a healthy and we're going to have a lot more respect for the fact that, they can stay here and that they can be part of life in America. I get it. I'm on that side of it. Not me. I'm a citizen, but I married a non-citizen. But we're doing it right. We're doing it right way.
And what does that tell the people who are trying to get here legally? What do the Democrats tell these people? That you're just a bunch of suckers. You're a bunch of suckers for trying to obey the law, when just don't obey the law and we'll love you even more, and we'll let you drive without a license in Cambridge, and everything will be fine.
There you go. And I'm going to I want to get into this whole thing, and we'll probably do that in an hour or two, but I got to tell you, Cambridge has always been, right, everybody has always said, the People's Republic of Cambridge, when you cross over, the Charles River, you're going into another country, but it's not funny. It's not funny. I mean, they are thumbing their nose at federal law, at state law. They really do think that they are exempt and better. And my question to this is, how is this going to work? How can you possibly do this? Because the laws that we have, state and federal laws, are very clear. Well, how can a municipality feel that they can just thumb their nose at this? And what is the insurance companies? How are they going to play?
I was just going to mention, Joe, if I was an insurance company, I would say that if you lived in Cambridge or drove your motor vehicle in Cambridge, we're not going to cover you.
Because, and I agree with that, because, and they can't. It's hard for them to say, well, you know what, we're going to up your policy, because it's kind of an approval, a tacit approval.
That is exactly right.
By saying
you still
that,
eat the big one, yeah.
So, I mean, what are they going to do? Because if somebody was driving, if I let my license, I forgot, my birthday came and gone, whatever, and I'm technically driving without a license. And that's happened to me. I was probably 23, maybe, I don't know, in the early 20s or something. And that happened. I mean, the cop that pulled me over is like, your license expired. Your birthday was, it expired this past birthday. You know that? And this is a long time ago, right? 30 years ago. And it's like, no, I didn't. But I couldn't drive the car. I had to actually go to court and explain it and get my license renewed and all this.
Of course.
And I had to do all
this is important. Yeah, no, it's a big joke.
And it wasn't, hey, go get that and let me drive away. So the cop pulls you over. You don't have a license. So he's going to write you something, right, a thing to appear. And he's going to let you continue to drive? And what if you
under the fake name that you've given him, Joe, because you're wanted in 30 other states.
And if you go down the street and school's letting out and you mow down a kid in the crosswalk, or you
crash into a gasoline tanker and you burn down half of Cambridge, yes. Can you sue Cambridge if you're one of the victims of that illegal alien?
Can anybody who's a victim of what happens because that driver got in an accident or hit something, can they sue that police officer? Can they sue the police department?
Oh, no, they're
for
indemnified and
negligence?
held harmless.
You see what I'm saying?
Which goes to my next point, Joe. You know the red flag law?
Yes.
They're running it big time. We have it here in Massachusetts. They're trying to push it in Virginia. But in Florida, guess what, Joe? In Florida, somebody pulled out a red flag warrant against this guy named Joe Smith. Well, the cop said, hey, I know a Joe Smith. Another cop says, I know a Joe Smith. So they went out and they just grabbed the first Joe Smith they came to. It was the wrong guy. He didn't even meet the description. He's arguing with the cops. And the cops said, we're just doing our job.
Yeah.
So he was able to go down to the courthouse and prove it wasn't him. And the court said, well, it's going to take you a couple of months before you get your guns and your gun license back.
Yeah. I've actually, there's been a couple of stories that I've seen that have come across my desk or my computer, I should say, about mistaking identities for this red flag law.
Oh, no, the
wrong
police do the right
person.
job all the time, Joe.
Yeah, so it
You can
happens.
trust them.
It's happened, but I'm a little concerned with, first of all, how easy it is for somebody to put you on the radar for the red flag law, and then
Yes,
how much
exactly.
power that is granted to the police.
We have to protect the world.
Yeah, and protect the police, but without due process. Without
due process. You know,
okay,
we don't
so,
need no stinking license.
yeah,
or badge,
I know,
whatever.
right?
Yeah. No, I mean, it's insane, Joe. But I mean, this poor guy, he proved who he was. He says, well, you could take it away immediately. Why can't you give it back immediately? And everybody in the courthouse just shrugged their shoulders and we're just obeying the law. Ah, good Nazis. We're just obeying the law.
Wow.
Yeah, orders. Must obey the orders. So, I mean, yeah, no, it's stupid. So it's getting to be scary, Joe. I don't like where we're going as a country.
Well, I suspect you haven't liked where we're going for a while.
No, it's insane, yeah.
But I mean, we have a socialist about to become the nominee of the Democratic Party, not the Socialist Party, the Democratic Party.
Well, remember this, Joe, back in the 1940s when the socialists used to run a candidate for president, and one time they didn't because the vice president, Henry Wallace, was an admitted socialist, and they said he was running for president. We don't have to run anyone because there's already one in the Democrat Party.
Wow.
Yeah. And of course, communists were rampant in the FDR administration. Stalin knew about the nuclear bomb going off before FDR did. Then again, you know the Verona Papers from the National Security Agency?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, all of that was proven, Joe.
Yeah.
The Democrats, they are one in one with the Communist Party, so it's dangerous, and I'm scared, and it's so sad so many Americans are so stupid they don't know any better. But
well, you know what?
Democrat, it's easier than thinking.
Don, you're going to know the answer to this. What's the one thing that did the most for gun sales in modern history, recent history? It was Barack Obama being elected president.
Barack going to run,
went through the roof because of the rhetoric, right? I mean, he wasn't as bad as is now. Now you know the AOCs of the world. Beto O'Rourke did it. They're not even lying about coming after the guns. They're straight out saying,
if you gun owners don't turn your guns in, we got nuclear bombs. We'll swallow Democrats. But I mean, here's the insanity, Joe. Democrats call the cops pigs. They don't want the cops to enforce the laws, and yet these stupid ass Democrats, they're saying only the cops should have all the guns.
Yeah. I agree.
And only President Clinton should have all the guns, or President Obama.
Yeah.
So I asked the question, what about President Nixon and President Trump? No, they can't have the guns.
There it goes. Hey, Don, I got to let you go because we're 59 and a half minutes after the hour, and we got a break for our hard news at 7 o'clock. Thanks for the call, sir. All right, folks, we're going to take a quick break of news. We'll come back on the other side for hour 2 of the Joe Mangiacotti Show in the Sunday edition. 508-871-7000. Lines are open and available. 508-871-7000. Stick with us. I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester.
Okay, Mr. and Mrs. Lavash, you're all set with your mortgage.
On alert.
And I assume you understand what you just signed.
It was a resounding victory for Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders in Nevada's presidential caucuses. The 78-year-old Democratic Socialist got support yesterday from the state's large Latino community.
The mortgage process can be confusing. Looking for the right rate, the right term, and most importantly, the right place to get your mortgage. At Clinton Savings Bank, we're committed to getting the mortgage that's right for you. You may even receive up to a $750 credit off your closing costs. Plus, right now, you can lock in the rate from your pre-qualification for 90 days while you look for a home. So what are you waiting for? Definitely not this.
Indiana Mayor Pete Buttigieg saying,
"Hi, Mrs. Lavash. How can I help?"
This is your campaign. Senator Elizabeth Warren saying since Wednesday's debate, a quarter of a million people have contributed more than $9 million to her campaign.
Right now, I can feel the momentum. So
Jim Root, Las Vegas.
South Korea's president has now put the country on its highest alert status for infectious diseases. South Korea today reporting 123 more cases of the coronavirus, raising the total to 556. Correspondent Ivan Watson in Seoul says one religious group seems to be ground zero for the nation's outbreak.
309, the health ministry here says, 309 come from a religious group known as Shincheonji. And that is a group that was holding prayer services in the southern Korean city of Daegu, where there's just been a real cluster of infections.
Iran today raised its death toll from the virus to 8 people, the highest toll outside of China. An academic couple who vanished during a hike in the woods of Northern California on Valentine's Day has been found. The rescue workers had spent almost a week looking for them. They'd given up and had shifted on Thursday to a recovery mission. I'm Christopher Cruz.
Paid non-attorney spokesperson. Attention! If you've had hernia surgery and have experienced complications such as chronic pain, infection, wound reopening, mesh migration, bowel obstruction, need revision surgery, or other complications, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Hernia repair surgery is common and requires a mesh product to be implanted inside your body. In May of 2016, the manufacturer of a popular hernia mesh product issued a mandatory global recall due to product defects. If you've had hernia surgery and have experienced complications, you may be entitled to significant cash compensation. Call the Hernia Mesh Helpline now at 800-245-5187. Our experienced attorneys will fight to get you the compensation you deserve. You pay nothing unless we get a recovery in your favor. Time is limited to file a claim, so call the Hernia Mesh Helpline now, 800-245-5187. Operators are standing by 24/7. Call 800-245-5187. That's 800-245-5187.
I want to tell you what Cantiani Insurance has been able to do for me and Teddy. We stopped in to see Paul Sr. and the great staff at 318 Plantation Street. They've been handling my car and business insurance for years. Teddy was making his way around the office, and they let me know. They now offer pet insurance. For a fraction of what one visit to the vet was for Teddy, they could cover him for a whole year. I know you treat your furry family members like any other family member, and as well as I do Teddy. The professional staff at Cantiani has been providing courteous service for over 40 years, with integrity and personalized service, making sure that your insurance actually protects you and your family. With 2 locations, the 318 Plantation Street in Worcester and East Douglas Insurance Agency, located at 306 Main Street in Douglas. For home, auto, business insurance, and now pet insurance, click CantianiAgency.com or call 508-791-2088. 508-791-2088.
So are you tired of being tired? Well, then it's time to get the tea. Hey, it's Lisa here to tell you about this all-natural, all-organic tea I've been drinking that has had great results for over 20 years. It's called Life Change Tea, and it's specially formulated to help detoxify and cleanse your kidneys, liver, colon, and blood all at once. The colon is one of the most ignored organs in the human body. The faster that waste is eliminated from the body, the less time that waste sits in our intestines spreading toxins to our bloodstream. This tea helps cleanse chemicals caused by outside intruders from our entire digestive system. And get this, weight loss can be a side effect. And with continued use of the tea, you can experience clearer, healthier, younger looking skin, increased energy, and a happier outlook on life. So if you're tired of being tired, get the Life Change Tea at getthetea.com. That's getthetea.com. And like me, you'll be glad you did.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Our topics are large and small. When you really need to know, we are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome to Hour 2 of the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. I am Joe Mangiacotti, and you can join the conversation at 508-871-7000. That's 508-871-7000 from the Clinton Savings Bank Studios. You can also text us on our text line. That's 617-297-8388, 617-297-8388, or email me at textjoeintheradio@gmail.com. And that appears on the same screen, so I can see it in real time. Don was on fire this morning. He was great, one of the texters that came in. Okay, Don, you got a fan club out there, buddy. 508-871-7000, and again, text line 617-297-8388. All right, for this hour, I want to change or shift our discussion a little bit to Massachusetts because, look, we've had a few things happening, right? Massachusetts judge, he blasted ICE for deporting local defendants. We've got the Cambridge driver's license issue going on, which is going to open the floodgate for everybody else, right? So the Cambridge City Council passed an ordinance that advises police not to arrest undocumented immigrants driving without a license. Instead, they will issue a summons to court to avoid ICE detection. The law was passed to reduce participation with federal immigration policy. Meanwhile, they're also looking at the red light cameras, right, putting this into effect, as well as we had the texting law go into effect, right, the TS, it's in there. So the law bans sending, typing, or reading electronic messages to or from handheld devices while operating a motor vehicle. Now, this includes the use of the internet and text messaging. So the law also bans all handheld electronics by junior operators while behind the wheel. So this means that you cannot be at the red light even, and read that text. You can't send that message or respond to that thing, or you can't surf Facebook while you're driving or even at a red light. Nothing. You're not supposed to use it. Now, to what degree is it that they're going to carry it? I mean, if you are changing your radio station while driving, does that count? I'm not sure on that. Maybe somebody knows, 508-871-7000. But you can't have any device. Your phone now, your smartphone has to be cradled in a holder on the dash or put away, and only through Bluetooth technology, hands-free, can you have a conversation. So here's what you need to know. So it bans the use of handheld device while driving. Again, no scrolling, no swiping, no typing, or otherwise using or holding a cell phone while behind the wheel. Now, you have to use your voice to text, which, I don't know about you, but boy, I've used voice. Cam, ever use voice to text?
Yeah, I use it pretty often.
How does it work for you? Because sometimes it's either really funny, funnier than I could ever think of coming up on my own, or dirty. I don't know what comes up with it, but
you got to speak like super clearly,
very clearly and slow, for it to go right.
Exactly.
And if you are using voice to text, you really need to read it before you send it, which defeats the whole purpose if you have to take your eyes off the road to read what you just did.
I believe sometimes it will read itself back to you,
depending on the
say,
call.
like, did you want to say this?
Yeah, so that can happen. So speakerphone are the hands-free way to talk while driving. I know there already a ban on texting and driving? Well, yes, there was already one, but it didn't ban other types of handheld phone usage. And there's a lot more you can do on a phone than, of course, text, right? It's basically our phones are just computers. We're walking around with a computer in our pocket. And it wasn't that long ago that the computing power of, I have like a Note 9, I think I'm on now, right? I mean, our cell phones, the standard cell phone today is more powerful than the computers that occupied huge rooms in the basement of NASA that it took to send a man to the moon and bring them back. So they are. I mean, you can do just about anything. Right? In the real estate industry, my friends in real estate run their entire business off of their phone. Look at, even in this business, we can literally plug a mixer into a smartphone and do a remote broadcast as long as we have internet, Wi-Fi, or data service on our phone, and do a remote broadcast from anywhere we want. When I started in this business, it required 3 engineers in a van. Well, when does it go into effect? Well, it began 90 days from when the bill was signed. So, actually, it was signed. So, what is it going to be? February 23rd.
Goes into effect today.
Yeah.
This is what I saw in the news.
Yeah, today. So, the 23rd. So, today it goes into effect today. This is what we're talking about. Now, what if you get caught? Well, there's going to be a grace period until the end of March 2020. So, they're throwing this in, and there's going to be a grace period. Well, what does that mean? 508-871-7000. We'll continue with this topic, but let's go to the phones. Mark has been waiting patiently. Good morning, sir. Thank you for calling, and thank you for listening.
Good morning, Joe. I was listening to Howie Carr. I think it was Friday.
Okay.
You're familiar with Howie, right?
Yeah, I heard of him.
Yeah. Yeah, he says he summed it up this way. He says the cops already had 1,200 reasons to pull you over. Now they got 1,201. And then he went on to say they already got 1,200 ways to pick your pocket. Now they got 1,201.
True.
And I think that pretty much sums it up.
Yeah, and this whole thing about discussion, Mark, about putting the red light cameras up, that's another money grab.
Oh, of course it is. Of course, It's all about the money. You know that, Joe. Yeah. Have a good one, Joe.
Thank you. Thank you, Mark. Always a good call. Yeah, we'll get into that in a second. But that's true. This does give another reason for police to pull you over. And don't get me wrong, because I'm going to get texts or messages on this that, believe me, I understand how dangerous texting and driving can be. I get it. And there's no reason that you should be carrying on a conversation and texting while driving. And I've always said, why can't, and I think that some of the phones have the technology that you can put in, especially for your kids, that if the car is moving, that it shuts off those abilities. Point is, it's dangerous. I'm not by any means playing down the danger of this. But let's get back to, so what if you get caught? So the grace period until March 2020. So if you're stopped and only expecting a warning, but after that, the first offense will mean a $100 fine. Second offense, $250 fine, and a third, any subsequent offense, will cost you $500. Habitual offenders could also be subject to auto insurance surcharges or driver training. So like Mark said, well, like Howie said, and Mark said Howie said, it's a cash grab, another cash grab. This is a revenue enhancer. Is it also to do the right thing and stop people from doing that? You know what? You can. Do you have to give a $500 ticket for that, though? Let me read a quote. There's a culture of cell phone use that needs to change, and part of that requires enforcement, which is why we needed the law. That's from the Massachusetts Department of Transportation Secretary Stephanie Pollack. She went on to say it gives us the opportunity to reduce those who have or rather who may get multiple citations under the law by having them take a course. And again, that's if you have 3 moving violations in the calendar year, you have to take that day course, right? You're going to pay, I don't know what it is, probably $150, I don't know. But you have to go and spend a day up at Worcester State College or somewhere and take that course because you have 3 moving violations in a year. But who's watching you get the tickets? Well, the law directs the Registry of Motor Vehicles to collect demographic data for every traffic stop ending with a handheld device citation. Now, that data will be analyzed by an outside agency for any irregularities, like racial profiling. And if any police agency is found to be stopping one group of drivers more than others, the agency could be subject to more intense data gathering. Translation to that, right? What does that mean? So we talk about that they're going to gather the data from the stops, and they're going to start looking for profiling. We'll pick that up in a moment. 508-871-7000. Let's go to the phones. Richard, good morning, sir.
Hey, good morning, Joe. How you doing?
I am well.
All right, the $64,000 question. What happens if they stop an illegal alien for this? Who's going to pay his bill? Is it going to be you? Is it going to be some of the listeners out there? What if he gets stopped 4 or 5 times, you know?
Well, are we talking about somebody who, A, is either driving with the phony license or B, not driving with the license at all?
Right. So most of them don't have a license, right? Mm-hmm. And most of them don't have any insurance or anything like that. And where the heck, after the 3rd time, where are they going to get $500? Are they EBT cards?
All good questions. Good answer. I mean, where is it coming from? You know, first of all, I don't understand. And again, I'm sure there's an explanation, the official explanation for why there's an option for some EBT cards, right? So when you go to the Price Chop or whatever, and they put the EBT card in, it says food or cash. Right. So some people are eligible for the cash benefit too. I think it's $3.14 every 2 weeks or something, and I think that's supposed to be if you are, find yourself fired, unemployed, and you don't have unemployment insurance. There is that minimum $314 every 2 weeks, plus, whatever the food stamps. I don't know the formula, what they figure it out. But my problem with that, and I don't, in the big picture of things, I do not have a problem with the whole thing. I understand it.
I don't either.
We are a society. We should have a safety net. We need to do that. People have hard times. It is the lifestyle on public assistance that I have a problem with. It's generation after generation. It's having no incentive to get them off of the public assistance. There is the lack of work requirement for it. It used to be many, many years ago. I remember when I was a young man, if you went on unemployment, you had to show up at a place. I mean, I never was on unemployment as a kid, but I remember people being on unemployment, and they used to say, my friends would say, I have to physically go someplace. They had to go someplace, answer questions. They had to have proof that they look for jobs. None of that happens today. You don't go anywhere. It's all done over the phone or over the internet. And you get this card, and magically money appears on it every month.
I remember the time as a Teamster, we went on strike, right? And we're on strike for about, maybe about 5-6 days, right? And of course, we decided, all of us, right, truck drivers and everything, we're going to go sign up for unemployment. And we ended up making a joke out of it because basically we never get a paycheck because we ended up going back to work. Mm-hmm. But I mean, you had to go sign up. Yeah. So I mean, there's like 50 of us. So we went over there, right? We signed up, and after that, we all went to the club and had a couple of beers. But but you had to sign up back then.
Yeah.
If you wanted some money,
Yeah, and there was you needed to bring proof that you were looking for a job and that there was some kind of effort going on there, but not happened. So on top of that, the fact that they've taken that aspect out of it, is that we consistently see folks, right? We see people with multiple EBT cards, and it's a combination of either a scam because they're collecting under different identities, or people who have EBT cards aren't using them the way they're intended to be used. And I know that, the good senator will talk about, well, that's illegal and you're not, but the point is it happens. I've maintained that when it comes to that issue, folks, that remember the Bureau of Special Investigation, I've talked about it. It was the only state job that I got offered after my Senate race that I was willing to take, and that was the agency that went after the fraud, went after the cheats on welfare. And they decimated the agency because they moved it from public safety, which oversees all police agencies, right, investigation agencies, to the Department of Health and Human Services. So they just cut the department in half. But there's a position, folks, that more than would justify that compensation package, because say the compensation package with Richard, with vacation and overtime or whatever, say it's $65,000, right? Are you telling me that an investigator can't save the taxpayers at least $65,000 a year? They can probably do that in a month.
Oh, of course.
Probably do it in a month. Point being, and I did have one when I started this, point being that you have these these people who are using those the way they're not intended to be using. And what do I mean by that? Well, they're going to, and this is where I say that the state go after the companies, and they have some. There was one in Worcester that got busted a few months ago that will give you 50 cents on the dollar. So you get the EBT card, say you get $129 a month. I'm arbitrarily picking a number here. And you go, well, I have a coke habit, crack habit, whatever. Gambling habit. I don't care. I just want to buy a Nintendo. Whatever it is. And you go down to that bodega, you go down to that little meat store, the butcher, and you walk in with your EBT card. He runs it, charges the Commonwealth. That's you and me, the taxpayers, people.
Right.
Well, the taxpayers pay that store $100, transfer it into his account, into his receivable, his ACH account, wherever he uses it to do the ACH transactions. He takes $50 out of the till and he gives it to the kid. He just made 50 cents on the dollar here, right? The kid made half, which was free money to begin with. He gets $50 cash. The store owner gets $100, and no product goes out the door. Right? So he gave 50. So he magically made $50. And it's money that has just been stolen from the taxpayers, because the government money doesn't belong. It's our money. It was what funds the government, people. Let's not forget that. Government doesn't have magic money that appears. Anything that they have to give out to people comes from us. So they just stole from you. The store owner did, as well as the EBT. But I hold the store owner more responsible than the EBT card holder.
Right, because he's the one that's doing a transaction.
He's the one committing the fraud.
Right.
So they both are, but he's the tool making it happen, and he should know better. Because exactly. I'll even go along with the argument, Richard, and I get this, that the irony of this is that a lot of the people who are on those programs probably have some kind of addiction, right? And they're also probably in situations where they don't have a lot of options. And they got to do whatever they got to do sometimes to get by. So I'll give you some leeway on that. But you know what? That store owner has no excuse whatsoever.
That's right.
Not only should his ability to take EBT cards go away, but he should have to do 30 days, 90 days, something. It's got to be an absolute, you can't do that.
Yeah, there has to be a penalty for your actions.
But I'm talking not a slap on the wrist. I'm talking a significant penalty, because what you're doing.
Joe, the thing that we have to look at here today, all right, they're looking for people who have money, right? Like in Los Angeles and San Francisco and places like that, and probably even here in Boston, all right? The police are out there. What the hell are they going to do when they try and arrest an illegal alien? I mean, what are they going to get out of him? It's the same thing out in L.A. and out there.
Okay.
They see the crime and the corruption going on, but they can't do anything because if they take them to court, they're going to occupy the court from the time, and they're not going to get any money out of it.
So you're saying that the police are going to be looking for the Cadillac, the Mercedes, the Jaguar, the Range Rover, be driving down the street.
Exactly. They're not going after a junker. I'll tell you that right now.
So you think as far as the profiling goes, you're saying the profiling is going to be for people who seem to have money.
Can pay.
Because it's going to be the revenue, and they're not going to get the money.
Exactly. It's always been about the revenue.
Yeah.
And like I said, they're not going to stop. They're not going to stop an illegal alien. I mean, what the hell are they going to get out of them, Joe? You know as well as I do. They're not going to get anything out of them, and they're just going to go to the court, and they're going to occupy time. And that's it.
And that was part of the reason.
Anybody else has got money.
Because I had a Framingham, a friend of mine who was a Framingham police officer at one point, and they had told me that the official, unofficial word, we don't even bother pulling it because there's a very high Brazilian population, right? In Marlborough, Hudson, Framingham, big Brazilian population. And the police were basically told, don't pull them over for a couple of reasons. One is we pull over too many of the members of that community, and the leaders of that community raise a lot of static with, at that time, the town council. They're a city now, but with the town council and with the police chief and so forth. So let's avoid the headaches and not do that. And they aren't going to show up for court anyway. And it just is going to it's going to fill up the docket. It costs us, and we're not getting anything. So the rank and file patrolmen were told, just don't bother. Because if you pull them over, then it's a record, and we got to deal with the fact that you actually just don't pull them over.
Right.
So if they see somebody driving, and this is profiling, not the way you might think it is, but if they see a person that's in a car that probably is driven by, and it looks like that person may not be a citizen, may not speak English that well, they don't pull it over. But if they see me driving down Concord Street in a Jaguar, and they think, well, this guy's he's insured, he's licensed, he's going to pay any ticket we give him.
Right. But you remember that? I don't know if you remember this. About it had to be about 10, 12, maybe 15 years ago, 2020 one time. They had a cop on there. And he said that actually, he says what they do, he says from the mayor and stuff like that, and his chief, they have quotas for speeding tickets.
Yeah.
And they had to fill out a certain quota every, I don't know if it was every week or every month. They had to fill out so many speeding tickets. Were you aware of that?
Yeah, quotas were always a big thing, which is why the joke was always really drive carefully at the end of the month. They got to make the quota. That kind of thing. Also, of course, there are always, and the police are always looking for, the expired stickers. As a matter of fact, I mean, it's not even a myth. If you go to Kelly Square, when you come on Providence Street at the end of the month, literally at Kelly Square in front of Kelly Pizza, there's 2 or 3 Worcester Cruisers sitting there, because as you come down the hill and if your sticker's expired, you don't have an option, right? You already went by the off-ramp to 290 North. So they get you, and they just sit there, pull over. So they're out looking for the stickers at the end of the month. Whether things, my father was a police officer, and he told me, look, the chief, and he came out of the Corps, and he went on to Somerville. He went from Somerville to Medway, and this was back in the late 60s when, I mean, literally it was Barney Fife thing, right? He went from Medway over to Sherborne, and in those days, Sherborne actually closed at 4 o'clock. The police department closed at 4. And at 4 o'clock, if you called the police, this was before 911, if you called the police, it went to an answering service in Natick. So if you worked the 4 to 12 or midnight to 8, they were all the police, Millers, Sherborne, Medford, they were all on the same frequency anyway. It's not like today's communication. So they just used one dispatcher for 2 or 3 towns. But my father came from Sherborne, from Somerville, a big city, out to Medway and Sherborne, and it was a culture shock in a lot of ways. Yeah. But he said there was never a quota, but the chief made it clear that a certain amount of revenue needed to be written.
That's right.
Never said you got to do this, but they understood. That,
well, one thing before, I'm going to let you go, but one thing before I go. Over here in Goffstown, Joe, we have a hill. Right? It's not a real steep hill, but if you don't brake on the way down, you're going to go over the speed limit.
Pick up speed.
And there's always a policeman at the bottom of that hill waiting for everybody to go over 30 miles an hour.
Mm-hmm.
So the other one at the other end, he calls in and says, hey, we just got this guy here. He's doing 35 or 38 or,
Yep.
And that's how they get you. They get you going down the hill because the car's going to speed up going down the hill.
Yeah, and there's look at the cops know where if they need to write some tickets, they know what curve to park at. They know what hill to park at. They know what stop sign people roll through. They know what they're doing. But I do got to go because we got to break.
All right, have a great day.
All right, thank you, Richard. Always a great call. All right, folks, we're going to take a break for LPDAM, Case Files of the LPDAM. That's the Licensed Private Detective Association of Massachusetts. We're going to check in with Sean Burke. He is the president of the association and resident manager of Courtside Investigations, and we'll be back on the other side. I'm Joe Mangiacardi. Good morning and welcome to Case Files from the LPDAM, where we take a look at lessons from actual cases, the law behind the findings, and where we share the experience of experts of the Private Detectives Association of Massachusetts. Joining us this week is Sean Burke, current president of LPDAM and resident manager of Courtside Investigations. Good morning, Sean. Let's talk about the association in itself. When was this actually created, and what was the purpose of putting together a Private Detectives Association?
As with most industries, there is a prime group that handles, a lot of legislative issues, works with the licensing agency. When in 1991, the Licensed Private Detectives Association was formed to do exactly that. It has been exactly what it has done in the respect that we've worked on many things from legislative, informing the public, educating private investigators to be better at their skill set. There is approximately 800 licenses, and that's a small number for any industry when you think of that there's approximately 44,000 lawyers. You have to have 3 years experience to be able to have that opportunity. The state police on a yearly basis actually do an investigation into each renewal form. Well, each investigator has to go through that once a year, which puts us at a very high standard. And unlike other licenses that's done through the Secretary of State, this is actually a legislative license. That's the oversight is with the Massachusetts State Police.
And that's something I think that people have to realize, that when you engage in the services of a private investigator, this is a person who's been vetted by the state police at least within the last year. If somebody needs a private investigator, they should be looking for those two things, that they have a current license and signed off by the state police. And second, I would think that the membership in LPDAM would also tell you that this is probably somebody you should deal with.
Yes, on our website, we actually have the list of investigators that are associated with us, which we have, our own set of standards. Those investigators or members do live up to those standards with their clients.
Now, like a lot of industries, right, a lot of professions, there are specialties, right? I mean, a doctor is a doctor, sure. They're all doctors. However, you're not going to go see an ear, nose, throat guy if you're having a back problem, or you're not going to see a cardiologist if you don't see very well. So there's those specialties. Does this happen within the PI industry?
It does.
Is it prudent for a person to use a PI that specializes in their need, or is it okay to go to a general practitioner?
I actually think that you'd be smarter, just like with most industries, to find the business that is a little bit more in line with what you're requesting. For example, if you're looking for surveillance, you would be best to use a surveillance company that's licensed to do that. Obviously, you need a private investigative license from Massachusetts. So we're a non-reciprocal state. So you cannot hire a New York company, for example, to work in Massachusetts. It has to be a licensed private investigator in Massachusetts.
And there's a lot of conversation that we can have about that. Today, Sean, the internet has opened up the ability for people to do a lot of work on their own, research type work, but it also has created a lot of companies, which I've always argued that they should need a license to do a lot of what they're doing online. But we do have companies that offer these background investigations for $19.99.
Well, Joe, they do, and it would be important for your listeners to hear this very clearly. For $19.99, you really cannot get a proper service done. And a lot of that information is not accurate. And it's unfair to push that information along when it's not accurate about an individual. And that's one of the problems with the internet, where a licensed private investigator is held to a high standard and their information can be checked or cross-referenced. Although it may be more expensive, but it's the same thing as putting a Band-Aid on and not, going to see a doctor or going to represent yourself in a small claims and not utilizing a lawyer. The truth of the matter is those forums are different. When you want to get something done and you need facts, a licensed private investigator has the ability to get those facts for you.
Tell people where they can check out LPDAM website.
Yeah, they can go to lpdam.org and you can look up Find an Investigator. It's right on the banner, and I think that's the best way to ensure that you're hiring somebody that has integrity and that is vetted by the Massachusetts State Police.
Sean, thanks for coming in this morning. Appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
And thank you for joining us for Case Files from the LPDAM. Join us here each week on WCRN 8:30 a.m. and online anytime at lpdamcasefiles.com. Visit us at lpdam.org. You can find LPDAM on Facebook and Twitter at PINMass and anytime 800-955-6274. For Sean, I'm Joe Mangiacotti.
This is the Joe Mangiacotti Show. We are the show you want to know. It's time to talk to Joe.
All right, folks, welcome back to the final segment of the Sunday edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. I am Joe Mangiacotti. This is AM 830 WCRN and AM 730 WACE. You can join the conversation, 508-871-7000, 508-871-7000 from the Clinton Savings Bank Studios. You can also text us on our text line, which is up and running at 617-297-8388, or email me at textjoeintheradio@gmail.com. Okay, a couple of the texts have come in, so I've either commented and or responded to you already. So in the final segment here, I want to continue with what's going on here in Massachusetts, because we've seen the Cambridge pass this ridiculous ordinance, which I think that the Attorney General, who won't do it because, let's face it, she's one of them, she's in that ilk, isn't going to do anything about it, as the Attorney General should do it, and that's why someone like Jay McMahon should have been elected AG. But nothing's going to happen there, and it's going to open up the floodgate, and it's too many questions, too many issues, right? Beating a dead horse here, the whole insurance issue. I would wish the insurance company would come out, because I'm dealing with an issue with the insurance company, and I can't believe how horrible they can be. That's for another show. But now, Mass lawmakers are also eyeing red light and speed cameras at intersections, and that's something that has been going on in states, other states, right? The cameras at the red lights. So Massachusetts lawmakers are considering a bill, and now this would install automatic road safety cameras at intersections. And the Senate, the state Senate, plans to debate the bill. It's S-2553, folks, Bill S-2553. It's scheduled for a vote Thursday when the Senate meets in its next formal session. Now, under the bill, cities and towns in Massachusetts could decide to install the safety camera systems and would identify and photograph vehicles to commit traffic violations. So it's not even going to be an officer involved here. It's all going to be automated, which means it's going to be running strictly off of the identity of the plate. Now, we already know, the technology is so advanced here that we don't even need the transponders anymore, right, on the Pike. They've done away with the toll booths. They put on the transponders, they put the towers there to read but they don't even need that, okay, because now it just reads your plate. So if you don't have it, reads the plate, sends a bill to the register owner of the plate. Now, the bill was filed by Senator Brownsberger, William Brownsberger. He redrafted by the Ways and Means Committee the camera system. It would look for vehicles that fail to stop at a red light and cars traveling at least 5 miles an hour above the speed limit. Vehicles making right turn on a red light where it's prohibited, and cars blocking an intersection or a bus line. That would be an interesting one. Now, if caught, the vehicle owner could be fined up to $25 under the bill. Now, that one there about the blocking the intersection or the bus line, I would venture to say that would probably be the biggest money raiser, right? The biggest fundraiser would be that, because when was the last time you were paying that close of attention to the stop line or the crosswalk or even the bus lines? You might do a little bit, when school's letting out or rush hour. But if it's no traffic and very slow and there's nothing going on, or it's late in the evening and you roll up to a red light, are you paying a lot of attention to that line in the road? But the camera's going to be able to catch it. So I would say that's going to be the biggest one. But are you okay with automation, cameras and IA sending you a ticket? Or should that have to be done by a police officer? And is it nothing more, as suggested, as a money grab? So what say you on putting cameras on stoplights? And if they're on stoplights, right, the gantries, because this is the other thing, we're going back to the Pike. And when they started talking about that 2 years before it happened, I told you then, and I'm telling you now, that those gantries that they use on the Pike right now, and they're the ones that read the transponder, but they don't even have to read the transponder. Remember? The camera, the intelligence for the software with those cameras, they just read the plate, immediately send you a bill. And it doesn't always work, because I have a transponder in all my vehicles, and I still keep getting a bill on the plate. So every few weeks I have to take all that and I have to go down. I go because it's only in Auburn. But what if I was in the Berkshires, or what if I was down in Plymouth, right? But I go to the Easy Pass over in Auburn and say, what's up, guys? Why do you keep sending a bill to this plate? You know that plate belongs to this vehicle, which has that transponder on it. So it's not flawless technology by any means. I know this personally, firsthand. I know that it's not, because I got to deal with that all the time. And if you don't deal with it, it accumulates. And the next thing you know, you could have a $600, $700, $800, $900 bill because they put all these fines and stuff on top of it. But the gantries is the key. And I've always maintained, and I told you, that as soon as they put these gantries up on the Pike with that technology, why would they stop there? We know the moment somebody gets elected to the state legislature, all of the common sense, I shouldn't say everybody, because there were some, we did have our Jeff Deals, right? We do have certain legislators who don't lose track of this. But it seems like the majority of them, once they get in there, maybe it's because the majority of them are always Democrat that elected. I don't know, chicken egg here. What is it? But the point is, they get in there, and then everything becomes an opportunity to tax us in their minds. Right? If you're a hammer, everything's a nail. If you're a Democratic legislature, everything's a tax. Opportunity to grab some money. And I've said this, and I maintain it, that the technology of those gantries are going to, because they're sitting there, and they're saying, why can't we? And they've done it. Even Senator Moore said it. Why not put it up? Why should people that using the Pike just have to pay? Why not put it on 128? Why not put it on the Expressway? No, why not put them up here? Well, what happens when they put it on Main Street, USA, when they put it, downtown Natick, Marlboro, Bolton, West Boylston? Are you going to want to get a bill every time you pull out of your driveway? On top of your excise tax? On top of your gas tax? On top of the TCI? On top of the sales tax you paid for the car? And you pay property tax too, right? What does that go to? The schools and sanitation department, police department, fire department, your roads. How many times are we going to be taxed for the same thing? So those gantries, that technology can be applied in ways we haven't even thought about yet. So if they're going to put these lights, these traffic cameras to catch you, they can put them on the gantries that they're trying to put up all over as well. So meanwhile, we have a Massachusetts judge. He blasts ICE for deporting local defendants. This was in June. 2 top Massachusetts judges, they took off on ICE for scooping up and deporting illegal immigrants. While local courts' cases are still pending in the latest escalation in this tension between the federal government, or federal immigration authorities, and officials in the Bay State, Supreme Judicial Court Chief Justice Ralph Gantz said it is an affront to justice. It is an affront to justice. Trial Court Chief Justice Paula Carey wrote in a letter that, and also Judge Gantz, to acting ICE field officer Todd Lyons. They also made that letter public, by the way. And the judge cited a new case in which U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement agents stepped in and deported an illegal immigrant before his criminal cases were wrapped up, and said ICE didn't let the courts or prosecutors know that would be helping, or rather it would be happening. I got to tell you, shouldn't they? I mean, we had a judge, right? Judge Joseph. What did she do? And she basically got away with it. Initially, sure, she got arrested, but she got reinstated and her back pay reinstated because she helped an illegal alien escape out the back door of the courtroom. She ordered the ICE officer in the courtroom to leave the courtroom and wait outside, implying that you can scoop him up when I'm done with him. But instead of finishing with him and let him go out, she has the bailiff take him out the back door. And he needed his security card to do that. Oh, and she forgot to turn the recorder off. She did remember, but there's many, many seconds of the conversation before she remembered to shut it off because she was committing a crime. Now, in the letter, it says that we reiterate our request for written confirmation that ICE will cease its practice of removing state criminal defendants pending trial without advance notice to the court and the relevant district attorney. How about we insist that you stop aiding and abetting their escape and helping them get away from us, because that's what you as a judicial system did when Judge Josephs did that. And the fact that you are not upset with that judge's behavior and holding her accountable speaks volumes. Now, the case in question, it's that of Annabelle Maldonado. Annabelle Maldonado, she was charged with trafficking cocaine. ICE picked him up from the courthouse, locked him up after the hearing, and the courts also attached a previous letter from back in October, when Gantz and Carey took issue with what the courts have been totaled up to 15 instances of ICE deporting illegal immigrants around Massachusetts before their cases were resolved. And first, look at this. If they are illegals and they have a hold order and a deport order and they pull them out before the case is resolved, why is that a problem to the court? Isn't that kind of taking pressure off the docket? Isn't it allowing you to address other issues the court could be addressing, since they're not even supposed to be here? And if ICE is doing their job, why do you care? Especially when you have judges that sentence illegal aliens differently, and by differently I mean more lenient, than they would a citizen because they are in fact illegal aliens, and in certain instances automatic deportation kicks in. So that means if you are a resident who pays your taxes, go to work and try to do everything right, and you find yourself astray of the law, you're going to be sentenced more harshly because you live here. That's what that breaks down to. Invoking a colleague's name from earlier, Howie Carr, as he always said, hey, I don't want special treatment. Just treat me like an illegal alien. Right? Immigration enforcement increasingly has become politicized. You know, Trump, sure, he made it a centerpiece of his campaign from the moment he walked down the escalator, folks, he did. And he said things that needed to be said, actually, things that we all said thinking. I know they attacked him and they came after him and they said he was racist, and he wasn't talking about the hardworking. And he's clarified this, but people don't want to hear the clarification. They don't want to hear it. And I had a immigration lawyer tell me the other day after the panel that, you know, MS-13 and the criminal element is such a minute percentage. I don't really get that as an argument. If any percentage of criminal element, cartels, MS-13, are coming in here illegally and we have the ability to stop it by beefing up the border security, if that's a combination of a wall and fencing and natural terrain, and we don't do it, that's on us. Liberal cities, including Boston, have sanctuary city-type policies that restrict cooperation with federal immigration authorities. Now, the Mass Supreme Court ruling forbids the courts and jails from holding people on an ICE detainer requested who have otherwise let out. It's crazy. It is bizarre world. And we need to be more vocal about this and have a problem with this, right? We have people right here in the state who have horrific stories because their loved ones were either criminally murdered by, taken, because it's two, right? They were taken because of a drunk driver or an accident by somebody who should not have been driving because they shouldn't have been present in the country anyway, to people who were the victims of violent crimes, murder, or robberies that went wrong of illegal aliens in this country. Right here in Massachusetts, plenty of those stories. And that's the frustrating part for these families and for anybody with a functioning IQ and an ounce of empathy has. If we just were following the existing laws, Trump has never asked for new laws, just follow the laws already in place. But because it's Trump who says it, and by the way, he hasn't said anything different than Clinton did or Obama did. Go to Joe Mangi's show Facebook page. There's tons of posts on there showing you. Go to my YouTube page. There's tons. I put it up there using the same words. Barack Obama saying the same words. If you come here illegally, don't bother because we will be sent back. Don't send your children here with somebody else. It's dangerous for them, who you're sending them with, and they will be sent back. It was an influx of immigrants coming here under the Obama administration that they had to build the detention centers, which are chain link fence, which, yes, when you look at them, they look like cages. They even published the pictures from 2014 and tried to pretend that was Trump who did that. And it wasn't Trump. It was the Obama administration who built those detention centers. And it was a judge that moved it from the 90 days, and in that time, right, the former head of the CB Border Patrol said usually they got the hearing and they were either accepted, maybe it was amnesty or what have you, or they were sent back. But the judge lowered it, right, to 20 days. That's all they could keep them. And then they have to release them, that whole catch and release. So they come in, they're not allowed to hold them long enough to actually have the hearing, make a determination, and then send them back the right way. They got to release them. And where are they going? Where are they going? And when Trump said, all right, you're going to lower it to 20 days, so we'll take a bus and we're going to send them to San Francisco and L.A., and we're going to send them to the cities who said that we should be letting them in. And they said, what? No, you can't do that. That's punishment. You can't do that. Even Cher, Hollywood liberal elite in the bubble, woke up to tweet, don't do that. We can't handle the homeless that we already have. That's not fair. So you have even the far extreme leftists out there saying, not in my backyard. 508-871-7000 to join the conversation. Gene, good morning, dear.
Wow, Joe.
Wow.
What a synopsis. Joe, thank you. Thank you for getting so much out there today. The callers, I'm telling you, eye-opening, all of them. For all of you listening, for all of you that text in, thank you. Okay, you are listening. But also make the calls. It's still America. I encourage everybody. That's the least we can do to make America great again. That's the least we can do, Joe. Joe, seeing how you have talked about what has happened here, the doctor and the doctors that were killed. Okay.
Yeah, the two doctors who themselves, by the way, were immigrants. They were legal.
Right.
Right. They were working here and they had visas and all. And that person who brutally murdered them was let out, and he was one of the people who was sentenced a day short of the year so that he wouldn't be automatically deported.
Okay, now, Joe, thank you. The other day, and please forgive me for this because I happened to catch part of it, and there is a woman, and she is at the State House in Boston, and Joe, maybe you could do some research, please, but she is trying to change the telephone call laws because what had happened, she called in on her cell phone.
Oh, this was the other part. Okay, she called 911 and they got disconnected 3 times.
Yes.
Because the operator couldn't quite understand her and thought it was bull and said, I'm disconnecting now. Right. I don't know if, and let's explain this because there's a lot of listeners that are like, what the hell are they talking about? Joe. So that couple that were brutally killed on the waterfront in Boston by the illegal alien, they called 911. The operator answered. She was literally in her last breaths, right, Gene, trying to say, help, send help, send help. Help. And the operator is saying, what do you say? Speak up, I can't hear you. Frustrated and disconnects the call. Says, I'm disconnecting now, thinking that they're playing a game. And they die. And the question is, on the first call, if we have enhanced 911. So when you call, and if it is a number, if it's a cell number that you haven't, like when you get the internet phone, right, set up, one of the steps in it is, even a Google number, is put the address. You can list the address that you're doing this from. But say you don't do that, and if you call from your cell phone, it will, the enhanced 911 triangulates it, and it can figure out where you are. But they didn't send anybody. 3 hang-ups on 911. So the question is, if they didn't hang up the first call and tracked that number and sent help, could they have been saved? Could they have, Gene? Is that what you're talking about, right?
Yes, and Joe, it broke your heart if you were watching it, because they did say they could have done more. The woman, if you look her up, I would like to call her and thank her and see if my big mouth can do anything to make some calls about this, Joe, because this didn't need to happen. It was a travesty upon a travesty.
Right. Absolutely. But Gene, we're up against the clock because I'm only on till 8 o'clock. So unfortunately I got a break because we've got news, and then I guess Harry comes in right with the Blackstone thing, but I will be back next Saturday morning. And actually I will be here Thursday in the 11 o'clock hour with Jerry Doherty for Making Money Last on Political Thursday. I join him now every Thursday. So tune into that and tune into Jerry every day, all the WCRN shows. But that will wrap up today's edition of the Joe Mangiacotti Show. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks. Follow me at Joe Mangi Show or just Joe Mangi on social media. I'm Joe Mangiacotti. Enjoy the rest of your weekend, folks.
WACE Chicopee and WCRN Worcester. 8 o'clock.
Big Bernie win. Governor may have cancer. I'm Christopher Cruz. Now that Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders has won the Nevada Democratic caucus, his opponents and the party are looking ahead. Here's correspondent Jim Roop.
It's not what happens, it's what happens next that's most important. That seems to be what the other candidates are saying out loud and to themselves after Saturday's caucuses. 2 more big races just around the corner, with the biggest Super Tuesday just 10 days away. South Carolina and the 14 states in the Super Tuesday races could very well be the tell-all and make or break for many of the remaining candidates. However, the candidate with the most pressure on them, Senator Sanders, has to maintain this momentum.
New Jersey's 62-year-old Governor Phil Murphy says he probably has a cancerous tumor on his kidney, but doctors won't know for sure until he has surgery to remove it next month. He said yesterday doctors found the tumor early and are confident of being able to eradicate it. 7 people have been killed in Turkey in a 5.7 magnitude earthquake that hit western Iran early this morning. Among the dead, 3 children, 4 adults. 123 more coronavirus infections